All right, so before we move on to the next section of the course, which will be talking about conditional statements, I'm just going to briefly touch up upon Booleans, and we'll discuss these more when we go through the conditional statements because it'll make more sense as we talk about Booleans in that section, but I just want to cover them really quickly and just make a few points about them since they are a type of data type. So we've covered 3 data types so far with Python. That's numbers, strings, and the last one, or the third one that we're going to cover, is Booleans. So Booleans are pretty simple. There are only 2 Boolean literals, and it can either be true or false. So just for reference, 1 equals true in Python and 0 equals false. So we can check the Boolean of a particular variable or something by doing the following. We can do something like, let's print to the screen. And inside here, we're going to go bool, so check Boolean. And then inside here, we just check whatever you want to check. So if we put 1 and we hit run, you can see here that that true is printed to the page here. And that's because 1 is always true. If we hit 0, it will be false. So you can see that's false. And this is always the case. So any number other than 0 is generally true as well. So if we go up and we type in 60, 60 should also pop up as true. We can see that it's true. But again, if we switch it back to 0, it's false. You don't really, this is just something to take note, but as you work with Python, you won't be doing this too much with numbers. You'll actually be doing more comparison things, but you know, as you dive in deeper with Python and you do more advanced stuff, it's good stuff to know just in case. And the other thing I want to touch up upon really quickly here before we move on to the conditional statement section is that any object that is empty is also false. So if we go inside here and we make a string, so let's say we make a string, but we don't actually type anything inside of our string, this will actually be false. So if we print this, it says false here. That's because there's nothing actually inside here. It's just empty. We can also add a simple string. So if we put a string that says hi, we hit run, you can see that all of a sudden now it turns true. This is because there's something actually inside the string. A little bit tricky to understand, but I just wanted to point that out really quickly there, guys. And keep in mind, this isn't the stuff you need to memorize. I just want to kind of cover this really briefly when we talk about Booleans. And the other thing I want to mention is that we can use the AND keyword to check if something is true or false. This is something we're going to be covering when we go through the conditional statements, but I just wanted to point that out here really quick. The main thing I just want you guys to get from this lesson is that Booleans can either be true or false, and that 1 always equals true and 0 always equals false. And again, like I mentioned before, an empty string or object will be false, and a string with something inside. So once again, if I put like a number here, this would also be true as well. You can see it's true at the bottom. So that's pretty much it for Booleans. We're going to do a quick little practice exercise here at the end of this section before we move on to conditional statements. So join me in the next lecture and we'll talk more about that. And if you guys have any questions with Booleans or anything like that, just let me know and I'll be happy to help.